As we proceed with our mutual venturing down SIRENIA's 1977 as promised, well, the remainder of the album anyway, of what's not been humored yet in discussion or showcase, I myself am really enjoying the creativity in the individualized expression and the ambitiousness of this album. And as I've said in past regard to what we've humored, 1977 is taking on a very isolated and specified flair that stands apart from the other SIRENIA albums of past iterations, at least from what I've consulted via the Zoldan era. Nothing before, though I will venture down that path at some point for myself, but I've really enjoyed humoring this album. Again, its unique style, its voice, from each piece, in separate positioning, there's a real creativity and drive to this album that I find so refreshing, and in execution, it has the mainstay SIRENIA flair, with such unique traits brought in and individualized voice. The last track was evidence of this with Oceans Away. In general, this album has such a unique placement in consideration. So I'm wondering if Dopamine on Tune will also fit that interest. Narratively speaking, it's extremely well written. Many of you know I come from a writing background in terms of what I majored in and graduated in, so for me, it is something I notice in works and expressions. But I'm not surprised as is SIRENIA. They are quite elegant and articulate. And I'm really enjoying the ride, as I have been for the several months I've been introduced to SIRENIA and welcomed their company on this channel, and been honored to showcase. As I've said many times, music for me is a beloved art form, and it's been a long-time aspiration to highlight good execution and art within that scene, and certainly in the metal territory, and with attribution specifically to the European rock and metal landscapes, which many of you know I cannot get enough of. SIRENIA's placement in my mind is at the height of greatness in the symphonic metal territory. I truly am impressed by their ambition and atmosphere and their wide canvas of ability in the music space. From whatever member of the group you look to and their individualized capabilities, there's just such a unique vision that's being played out in this journey that I'm taking that I've not forgotten one step of the way, and I've revered each moment with this group, especially in humoring them alongside you. Right? I know many of you are approaching being longtime SIRENIA fans, and perhaps others of you are approaching on a first-name basis. I hope if you are a case of the latter, you experience the same elation that I've come to really welcome with SIRENIA's company. I deeply revere them, and I've enjoyed every minute of it humoring their music with you. And this being the first album I've listened to in full, again, I couldn't avoid that temptation. And to share in that fellowship experience, perhaps to inspire you to follow down the SIRENIA road. And I hope if you are somebody that's looking for fulfillment and inspiration and creativity in art, you find that with SIRENIA. I have. I hope you experience the same as we enjoy this work together for the first time, Dopamine, and we match tune to narrative. Again, I find the eloquence of this piece particularly interesting. It is a deeply resonant piece, and SIRENIA has an inspirational spirit for anybody who's approaching again on a first-name basis. They have a deep resonance in regards to themes of the real world, whether it be tribulation or happiness or something a little more tragic. They explore different types of concepts quite well. Dopamine is also very interesting to the same respect. But let's humor the tune together and see which path this takes. I honestly don't know what to expect. If it's going to be a bit softer or harsher, fit more of an aggressive path. Let's welcome the introduction together. And continuing on the path I've been on tonight with SIRENIA's 1977 as promised, and I've enjoyed the ride every step of the way. Hang on a second. All right. I like that edge. Good key choice. I like her flowing back in the evident harsher rhythm. It's nice to have an emphasis return again. And this has a dominant SIRENIA voice on key pattern. Speaking of Dopamine, this tune kind of has a bit of an entrancing quality on feeling. Beautifully illustrative of the concept. Nice pattern on the riff. Quick staccato jumps, I'm loving it. Emmanuel's got a great vocal navigation here. That instrumental bit, that was good. Well, I can't wait to hear that again, especially in an isolated manner. That dance is exquisite in terms of the notes. Matched with pacing, there's a real beauty to this one. And it's nice to have these drops, right? To have a mixture of tone. Though I'm loving that rough root. To have that gradual ascension and emphasis is, I think, a good pattern for the song. This one really is, like I said, it's got that dominant SIRENIA edge in the background. And the track construction on the instrumental side. It's so explicit. That's great. That concert, I love that. And there's more of those creative keyboard effects. The way this album is dipping into the electronic is particularly interesting. And the French spoken word intersection is quite a creative element. If this is your first introduction to SIRENIA, they've had a mixture of language before. It makes their pieces incredibly appealing. Strongest breakdown, in my opinion, yet on behalf of Mills' credits. And this is a mainstay from each piece we've humored. My favorite yet. Love that. Nice rap too. Effective closures on these pieces. In the back of my mind, amidst, again, like I said, the fresh voice of this album, I have been hoping that maybe the traditionalist SIRENIA feel does get fleshed out a bit more. Though I've admired, again, the subtlety of what this album is playing with. In the voice of SIRENIA is not lost. It's just suppressed. It's not suppressed is the wrong word. It's a supportive element to flesh out the uniqueness, at least in the way that I recognize it. Maybe you disagree. Maybe maybe we have consensus on that opinion, right? Music is a deeply subjective experience for sure, especially on analysis and the way we consider it and the way it appeals. What I've seen in regards to judging each piece is a lessened feel of the traditionalist SIRENIA effect, especially on the harder energy. A lot of these pieces have a bit of a softer pop rock flair that are in some effect as well from different tracks. Not as much this one, but to credit other pieces, they're dating the pieces back to perhaps, again, like I said, an earlier music period, especially on a classic rock vein. This, for me, is the most explicitly SIRENIA. I think, let me look at the selection of the tracks again. Each piece has been good on its own standing and deeply creative. I think this is my favorite thus far because it is the most explicit to SIRENIA's tone. It comes across much more traditionalist than some of the other pieces, and I revere it for that. The key pattern, again, dominant SIRENIA voice that's fleshed out beautifully in this song, where there isn't that type of experience in departure or pleasant disassociation, right? But it's not necessarily a new path. It feels renewed, like a revival. I really like the execution here. It's incredibly precise on scope. The tone of it, the entrance, again, the key pattern is phenomenal, and the mixture of pacing emphasis to give this song a clear mixture of identity in tone, right? To establish maybe a bit of a softer feel in entrance, and then build it up a bit, reduce, and then have, from the verse structure of the chorus, have this constant crescendo of emphasis built. I love the feeling of that, and the breaks, highly effective for this song. In the chorus section specifically, between the two measures, after the I cling on to memories inside, to that transition of years on the road, that break in the center with the synth application and the keyboard, or I think it's more of like a keyboard effect, the do-do-do-do-do, I love that. Just love that dance. It's so subtle and specific, but it's just so creative an element. Very Mortemia as well, the more I think about it, is in instrumental construction. Mortemia, for maybe those of you who are not aware, Morten Veland, one of the members of SIRENIA, his collaborative project on the side. Definitive similarity between both entities. This song feels very Mortemia. On the more I think about it now, some of the later tracks off, well, at Presently Unveiling. Let's say, for example, well, one specifically, The Hourglass. Doesn't Dopamine kind of remind you of that one, if you've heard it? And if not, I recommend it. I mean, that one, just like SIRENIA has a beautiful vocalist in Emmanuel Zoldan, The Hourglass, Amba Voorhees is just spellbinding. Love her. But on pattern of notes, pacing, voice, it's actually really similar to The Hourglass. It's different, but it feels particularly mutual. This just, for me, in key focus of this piece, a central attribution, the main takeaway, where the remainder of this album thus far, and we still have 2 pieces to go, Delirium and Timeless Desolation, I consider Dopamine in parallel consideration of the other tracks we've humored thus far together. The other 8 in total. And while each piece, again, like I said, is not, in many respects, they've not lost the voice of SIRENIA. That's key in the songs. It's entrenched. But there are unique flares that are materializing that give each piece a new voice. This is the most centralized SIRENIA in main focus. Traditionalist. And that definitely appeals to me. I like seeing that emphasis, especially as a point of divergence, where the mainstay of this album is a fresh voice and something of a new vision. To have that point of divergence materialize where we have a reminder of the foundation put front and center, I think it was a great choice. I love the execution of Dopamine. Track-wise, it's, I think, one of my favorites on the album thus far, and I've liked every piece. This, for me, though, is a top favorite. I'd love to hear if that's reflected in your opinion down below, and from whatever angle of approach you take in judging this song, whether you are a longtime SIRENIA fan or if this is coming to you as a first impression. I'd love to hear what you think of the piece down below. I think it's one of the most superior on 1977. Hands down, I think it's one of the best. The more I think on it. Easy repeat listen, I can't wait to humor it again. We have 2 more tracks to consider thus far, again, and me delivering upon my word to you that we would be examining 1977, the remainder of it in full. But thus far, and there's been so many pieces here that I really liked on energy and delivery, especially on uniqueness and new vision. Dopamine, though? Dopamine is incredibly strong of a work in reviving that feeling of this is SIRENIA I'm listening to, right? The foundation of SIRENIA, though, what I was introduced to many months ago in their earlier album entrances. To hear that brought back and put center stage, I admire the choice, and I think Dopamine stands out in that respect prominently. Thank you so much for watching this video. Before you bounce, feel free to drop a like and comment, subscribe to this channel with a ding on the bell, and share this video with your friends. And consider checking out the description here. There you'll find links to my other channels, as well as addresses to my other social media accounts and ways you can help support my work if you feel so inclined. May God bless you, and looking forward to when our paths cross again.